Is the PS4 Pro really worth buying? That's the big question a lot of us are asking. I'm lucky enough to have one of Sonny's new consoles right here, which I'm going to put to the test on this behind me. This is a 4K HDR TV. It's a Samsung 49KS7000 series to be exact, and it's in a comically small room, hence why it doesn't even fit on this wooden bookcase here. I've had to get a weird extension for it, so apologies for a bit of a rubbish set that we're in, but the key point of the PS4 Pro is that it's 4K and HDR compatible. Now I must admit, before we open this up and get to the proper review, I'm not quite as excited about this as I was way back when the original PS4 came out, which I handily still have the very broken box here with Killzone. That was exciting. So first things first, let's get the Pro out of the box and see what we've got going on. Take the cover off, and there we have it, the PlayStation 4 Pro. You can see it's basically a club sandwich of a PS4. It's got an extra layer, an extra tier to the PlayStation, but it's definitely bigger, it's definitely a bit heavier. Now, one thing I noticed as I got this out of the box, and I'll show you what you get in the box, along with the PS4 Pro, of course, you get a new PS4 controller. Also, I noticed that in the box, the power cable does not fit the old PS4. It is a slightly different one. You also do get a HDMI cable in the box, which is great because you do, of course, need a HDMI 2.0 cable to make use of the high resolution and the 4K. Controversially, this does not have a 4K Blu-ray drive or UHD drive like the Xbox One S does, and it did put off quite a few people of buying this because they wanted like an all-in-one UHD 4K media streamer. And while this does stream 4K HDR stuff from Amazon, Netflix, so it still has a Blu-ray player but not a 4K one. So overall, it's a slightly bigger PS4. It's got an extra layer on it. As I say, it's a club sandwich PS4. But there's nothing really to get excited about here. But what is exciting, of course, is when we get it hooked up, which I'm going to do right now and play some games on it. So here we are back on the PS4 Pro home screen. I've done all the updates, everything is good to go. And as you can see, it looks pretty much exactly the same as a PS4. This isn't a massive generational leap in terms of software or layout or UI. So really, it's not really that simple to see what the difference is. But what we do need to do is pop to the settings, because this is where we'll start to see the different video outputs making use of the new technology. So if you go to settings and then scroll down to sound and screen, and then click on video output settings, you'll see everything is set to automatic, and do keep it on automatic. Under resolution, as you can see, we now have 4K options or 2160p. As you can see, we've got a YUV420 version of 4K and an RGB one, which here it says is unsupported. Now this may not be the same for every TV, and you may not even have this issue. You may be able to, by default, click on the RGB or have it automatically go to that color format and HDR be supported. But if not, like me, you can go to your picture settings on your TV. As I say, this is the Samsung 49KS7000 series. And what you need to do is go to the picture settings and then expert settings, and then scroll right the way down until you get to HDMI UHD color. Click on that and then make sure it's on for the HDMI that you're using the PS4 Pro in. Now I can't actually quite remember which one it is, so I'm just going to turn them all on just for a moment. Must be HDMI 2 because we've seen a difference here. So that's enabled. And there we have it, that's the solution. After a quick restart, you can see now that both options are available. So if you did have that issue where you could see that it was just YUV420, simply make sure you're using the HDMI cable provided in the PS4 Pro box, because that's a HDMI 2.0 cable. Make sure your TV is compatible in the first place. Not all of the older ones are, but most modern 2016 ones will be, especially if they're UHD Alliance certified and if they are 4K UHD and HDR. But then make sure in your picture settings you have the HDMI UHD color enabled for the HDMI that the PS4 Pro is using in order to get that HDR signal across. And if we double check video output information, 2K and 4K HDR supported. Aside from that, there's not really much else going on here. You do have the option to bring over your PS4 save games, game data, screenshots, stuff like that. There is an option to, but you do need both consoles plugged in at the same time. You also have a 1TB hard drive in the PS4 Pro. That's the only storage version you get, so you do get a lot more space for more games, which is quite cool. But interestingly, and a slightly more technical aspect of the hard drive, is that the PS4 Pro supports SATA 3. Now, if you're a PC enthusiast or you know about storage devices and motherboards and things, SATA is basically the connection between the hard drive and the motherboard and the main chip in the console. Now, going from SATA 2 in the PS4 to SATA 3 means you can get much faster speed transfers between hard drives. Now, the traditional hard drive, the hard disk drive, won't take advantage of that extra speed. So it will load times maybe a touch faster down to the better raw performance, but won't really be a big difference. But something that I haven't tried yet, but I will do in the future, is if you put an SSD, a solid state drive, or even one of the cheaper SSHD drives into your PS4 Pro, there's a good chance that this will really make a difference to load times because it will be able to take advantage of that faster SATA 3 connection. So here we are in Uncharted 4, which looks absolutely incredible. But the problem is, it already looked great on the PS4. So while this looks fantastic, I'm not immediately seeing a massive step up. This is in 4K, HDR enabled. So obviously what you get with HDR, high dynamic range, is you get more detail in the darks and the shadows and the blacks. You get much richer whites, much brighter whites potentially. So what I am noticing playing Uncharted 4 here is it looks absolutely amazing, as you can see, but I'm not being blown away by the difference between this and the PS4, which I had already completed the game in. The detail is definitely a little bit sharper. You can see the individual raindrops on the sea a bit more easily, and when there's a bright explosions like when that boat blew up, it really is like blindingly bright for a brief time. So you do get that extra sort of oomph from the HDR and also the sharpness from the 4K. If you're already a PS4 owner and you have a nice TV perhaps, is it worth buying the PS4 Pro? Possibly not. Of course, this is at its absolute best. Most people don't even have a 4K HDR TV, and where you will still see some improvements, it really is best seen in this sort of high-end 4K HDR goodness. The camera I'm using is filming in 4K, so if you do have a 4K monitor or laptop, do click on 4K to get the best, most accurate representation of what this looks like. But what you're not getting is the HDR over camera and YouTube compression, and watching this online, you're not seeing it how I'm seeing it. Interestingly, in The Last of Us, another Naughty Dog game, one of the best examples of showing off HDR and what it does is by looking at the clouds. There's a lot more detail when HDR is enabled. So not only is it brighter, more vivid, but there's more detail where it wasn't before. Now, I'm not immediately blown away by the difference. I don't think, coming from the PS4, that this is really a necessary step up. I think these games already looked incredible, and I'm really looking forward to games like Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn that will be coming out, which are PS4 Pro optimized. And that is another thing to mention, not all games are optimized for the Pro. Only a specific number of current games are. There's a list. So make sure, A, you have a 4K HDR TV to get the most out of the PS4 Pro. B, make sure that the games supported and optimized for the Pro are ones that you're likely to play, or the ones that are coming out, like Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, are things you're interested in. And C, if you are a serious gamer, you want the best graphics, this is of course the most powerful console you can buy until Microsoft Scorpio comes out next year. But for now, this is a PS4.5 essentially. It's a bit of an upgrade, it looks nicer, but it's not gonna blow your mind. So hopefully that's helped. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think of the PS4 Pro in the comments below. If you do fancy buying the console, or even this TV which I'm using it with, you can check out the links in the description below. Thanks very much, and I'll catch you next time on the Tech Chat.